MLS 4.0.
Yep.
Away from MLS, we go into the U.S. men's national team after qualifying for the World Cup. All our players decide to take a break from their club team by getting injured.
300 IQ move.
Gio Reyna goes down with another muscle injury. Weston McKennie obviously out with the broken foot.
Yep. Turner's out too.
Turner's out. Yunus Musa goes down with an injury. I don't know exactly what it was, and I saw it this morning. What does this mean that our golden generation is full of players that are made out of paper?
It means we're really going to have to rely on this depth that we have in our pool. I mean, there's no better time to have it. If your star guys are going to be as fragile as ours have proven to be, then you got to be. If you're the next man up, you got to be ready to go. And the nice thing is, I think our next man up in a lot of situations is a guy that can come in and, maybe not fill the shoes entirely, but, do a decent job at least. I think there's a lot of players that can come in and still maintain the quality for this team. I think it'll hurt a lot to lose someone like Gio or a Weston or obviously, or like a Christian who's constantly battled injuries as well. Happens to be one of the few only healthy ones at the moment, which is ironic. But I think the next man up will be able to come in and hopefully still be able to keep the level of quality for the team.
Yeah. It's not a good look, right? When the players who are supposed to deliver you to the promised land can't stay healthy for more than a month. I mean, that's scary. And we saw it start with Pulisic, right? He was constantly in and out of injury at Dortmund and at Chelsea. And it was like, oh man, that sucks. That's not really good. And then you look at Weston, who's been pretty okay, but he's had some of his own, and now he's got the big one. Yunus Musa down for the count right now. Turner, that's okay. Stefan also always hurt. If you notice, I feel like he's always got some sort of nagging weird injury that goalkeepers should never have. Aaron Long with his injury last season, right? It just feels weird that we're all hyped for this, and it just feels like everything's going to go wrong before we get there. And it's kind of already starting, right? I don't know when they're due back. I don't know when they're supposed to get healthy again, but it's not a good look that our golden generation keeps getting hurt.
Yeah, and I feel like the more times you get hurt, the more times you're going to continue to get hurt. I mean, yeah. I think you can maybe speak to this a bit better than I can in terms of sports injuries.
Pew, 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 pew. Shots fired.
I wasn't trying to do shots fired.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Hey, remember your athletic career full of nothing but injuries? Yeah, why don't you go tell us about how you suck?
I kind of wish I said it like that. That was a missed opportunity. Hey, remember when you used to have a shoulder?
I had both of them at some point. Yeah, that's a great point, right? When you injure things, especially things like tendons or ligaments or things like that, once you stretch them out, they don't go back to where they're supposed to be. You're prone for more injuries. And again, I don't know how that relates to hamstrings or muscles things. I was never hurt long enough to get an actual muscle injury, so positive there. Or rather, let me rephrase. I was always hurt too long to actually go pull a muscle on some other part of my body. But yeah, like I said, you're setting yourself up for disaster, which would suck. But I want to know, let's say all this carries out in the long term. What does this do to our chances of advancing out of the group? You think it puts any stress on us?
I would think maybe a bit, just because the typical guys who have been playing with us and have started to, I guess, learn Greg's system are now going to be out, and now these new guys have to come in and learn the system in a pretty short time frame. I mean, you're only going to have probably, I think, the Nations League and a few friendlies before the World Cup kicks off. So not a long time to kind of get the system down. I think the Nations League may end up being more important than Greg had originally thought it would, in terms of, getting a feel for who's the next man up, who's going to be ready. I think Greg has said it, and I agree with him on it. or I think he at least said it for the striker position, but I feel like it could apply for every position. Is I think it may come down to who's in the best form at the time of the World Cup, or at least in terms of setting the roster. So I think a lot of in terms of replacing injuries may come down to just who's in form, just because that is how deep our pool is. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now of all the people who made features in 2021. I mean, this is a really great list to look at, especially when you think about what the list used to look like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It looks, I mean, this roster is so injury prone though. I mean, I think Sargent's been hurt. DK has been battling injuries. Paul Arriola just came back from being injured. Jordan Morris, Brendan Aronson was just hurt right before the World Cup qualifying window. Serginho Dest as well.
I forgot to even include Aronson on this. He got hurt before the final window.
Yeah, so did Dest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Adams has been hurt a few times, I think.
Tyler Adams
well.
is the most injury prone out of all of them. He's literally our best player. I will die on that hill, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this team is very injury prone, which is concerning, obviously. But you just got to hope the pool is deep enough that we can replace him and hopefully not lose too much quality. But I mean, this list of players here it's really encouraging. There's a long list of talented players that can jump in there for guys that get hurt.
It is, but it doesn't include the players like Omar Gonzalez, Michael Bradley, Mix Diskerud, Aaron Johansson, DeMarcus Beasley, Brad Davis.
All is players Diskerud still playing?
All players that I don't know if he's still playing.
I gotta find out. I gotta know.
Chris Wondolowski, give me him back.
Out of retirement, what do we FCC?
Tim Chandler, Jeff Cameron. Come on, we are FCC to the moon.
Mix is not currently playing. I don't think so. Oh wait, maybe he is. He's playing for a team in Cyprus right now.
Yeah, call him up. Let's go.
I wonder where Timmy Chandler is now too.
He's still in Germany, I think.
What? He's still on Frankfurt?
Yeah.
That's wild. How is he still on Frankfurt?
That's all right. He's not playing anymore, so.
That guy never got called into the national team. Just never.
Tim Chandler?
Yeah, I felt like he's
been to the 2014 World Cup.
Yeah, but he's only got 29 caps in his career. And I mean, he was like our Dest back in 2014. He was our Serginho Dest. And he just never got called in.
Speaking of people who can get called in, let's say Gio and Musa are out for the World Cup. Who do you replace them with? This is way down the line. I doubt this happens, but just
in terms of like starter or who would just fill the
players
roster?
You would call in. Players you would call in.
I mean, at the moment, I would love to see Georgi Mihailovic get called in. I mean, he deserves it more than I would say almost any player who has not been called in. I think in terms of Yunus Musa, Luca De La Torre is my direct replacement for him. I think Luca gets his spot. I think his gameplay is similar enough that he can fill in Yunus's role, and I think he could do a pretty good job. In terms of who would take the roster spot, let me take a look at the 2021 roster again. Get like a full list of who's been called up recently. Oh, well, I always got to consider Jackson Ewell, of course. Got to be in the picture.
While you continue to look, my first two off the bat, replacing some attacking midfielder options in Gio and Musa are Luca De La Torre, if he's not already on the plane. Mm-hmm. And Jordy was my other one that I was like, absolutely get him in, get him on the plane. Some people have talked about Caden Clark being in the mix.
No shot.
Nope, he's not there yet.
No, keep him far away from our.
Not far away.
No. He can go be in the youth team right now, but he's not ready for the senior team.
No, he doesn't even play for Red Bull, really. So
yeah, I would maybe Gianluca Busio.
He's more of an 8. I don't know if he fits that.
I think he could
keeping 8.
I just mean like I wouldn't start him. I would start Luca and Georgie over Busio, but I think Busio wouldn't be a bad shout. Just to have on the roster as like a backup.
Gianluca Busio is the Michael Bradley of this group. All he does is
no, Jackson Ewell is the Michael Bradley of this group.
No, Jackson Ewell will not be in this team to be the Michael Bradley. You don't understand. If Jackson Ewell is on any seat in that plane, there's no
tell the pilot to take them to another country.
It's canceled. Yeah, we're changing the autopilot directions to Cyprus. They can go play with Nick's Discord.
they could drop off Jackson Ewell and pick up Nick's Discord.
I'd almost rather. But hey, listen, if we call Jackson Ewell, then we don't have to call John Anthony Brooks. We can hear the Eurosnobs cry even harder. Because as you know, Jackson Ewell is a center back now.
That's true. That is a very fair point. I mean, listen, Jeff Cameron's still going if we want to replace John Anthony Brooks.
This is getting disgustingly off.
This is pretty bad.
This is getting the meme point where like I'm getting scared to talk about half of these things.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't put this out.
With this, we might need to just cut this end. All right, it's a 20-minute episode on.
Yeah, or we gotta put a disclaimer or something.
Yeah. The comments made in this podcast do not reflect the views of our own hosts. They're all satire.
This is an explicit episode.
Jackson, they'll do that thing where like you tweet out somebody's name, but you put like asterisks in for like the vowels, so nobody knows what to look for.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm worried. I'm worried that this team is going back to all seriousness, right? I'm worried that this team is going to get to October, get ready to go, and Tyler Adams is going to have a muscle injury. Gio's going to have a muscle injury. Pulisic's going to be hit so many times over in England that he's going to have like the inability to walk. You look at Aronson won't be fully recovered, or he'll be like half able to play. So we'll have to make a decision on him. Like there are just so many players that absolutely lit it up at Nations League and qualifying that we now have to worry about possibly even playing.
I would be very curious to know how many times over their national team careers, Pulisic, Reyna, McKinney, Musa, and Adams have all been on the field at the same time. I mean, it's got to be below 5.
Oh yeah, well that's just a system in general. You can only fit 4 of those players on at a time, right?
Yeah, you could play all of them. I would assume you could play.
Gio is a winger, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Gio and Pulisic on the wings, and that midfield 3 is what I would think.
All right.
Or even 4 out of the 5. I got to imagine it's super rare.
Yeah. Well, that's an off topic.
Yeah, that's episode research.
Yes, but what else you want to add to this?
I had a question of the day for you, and I forgot
it.
I forgot it. I got to try to remember it. Hold on. All right, question of the day for you here. Who's the player that you think we'll call it the Greg edition? Who's going to be the one Greg edition that makes you pull your hair out for the World Cup roster?
Won't pull my hair out, but I know who's going to be. His name's going to be Paul Arriola, and he's on the plane already.
Oh, 100% Paul's on the plane.
I don't think he's going to make me pull my hair out with anybody. This isn't 2014. This is like there are very few people you can put on the plane that would make very many logical people. Let me clarify this. We've gone on this tangent already, so I'm not going to do it again. But very many logical people who will rip their hair out. I can't see it. So if you're gonna point to anybody, it's gonna be Paul Arriola over Brendan Aronson at 75%.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. I honestly, I'm not overly upset with Paul being there, but if Paul's starting games in the World Cup, then I'm upset with it. But if he's just there, I'm okay with it. The one guy for me, I kind of feel like it's the same situation. Not a guy that's going to necessarily make me pull my hair out, but Christian Roldan. I think Christian Roldan's a good
Okay.
player, but what's the point? Greg calls him in every time and he doesn't play him ever.
Listen, what you're telling me that you don't want to see a Christian Roldan cameo against Iran in the last 5 minutes of our World Cup berth when we get knocked out?
He's not even going to dress. Christian's going to go there and be the team cheerleader. He's going to be like the water boy out there. I mean, last World Cup qualifying window he got called in, and I don't think he played a minute. I swear, Roldan gets called into like every single window. He's getting the Sebastian Lletget treatment, except Lletget actually got to start games. Christian Roldan doesn't ever play.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a bench warmer, all right?
Like, I think you and I know Christian Roldan has a decent shot to make this World Cup qualifying roster over Georgi Mihailovic because
That
he
would be
knows the
critical.
system.
Well, at this point, then you're going to have a decision. Do you go with the people you trust, or do you go with the best players that you have?
The best players. It's the
Oh,
World Cup.
I agree. Oh, no, I agree completely. But that's a decision, and the argument he's going to make is, well, I called in, Sebastian over Jordy because he knows the system, and if I needed him, he wouldn't have been lost.
Yeah, I called in the guys that got us here. I feel like that's exactly a line Greg would say. I brought in the guys that
I'm
got
going
us.
to clip this, and when he does say this, I'm going to make a really good video out of it.
Yeah, the guys that got you a goal difference spot into the World Cup. You snuck into the World Cup over Costa Rica. I think if you give Costa Rica Keylor Navas that whole World Cup qualifying window, we're in the playoff right now.
That's bold.
Is it? Is it bold?
That's bold.